Welcome back. It's been 2.5 months since Cyclone Nargis devastated Myanmar. Reporting the extent of the disaster and aid effort has been difficult, given foreign journalists aren't allowed access. Well, despite the dangers, CNN's Betty Nguyen and her team ventured into the country and the worst hit Irrawaddy Delta. She filed this report.
Just getting into the country was half the battle. Little did I know the rest would be near impossible. We had to devise a plan to bypass multiple military checkpoints and get down to the cyclone devastation.
So the only way out of Yangon is through this checkpoint?
Yeah. That's a problem, because if we're caught, our team face deportation, even prison time.
It's a difficult job to do. It's one of the harder places to shoot and actually tell a story, because you live in fear of yourself being kicked out, but you live in more fear of the people that work for you being arrested and put away for 20 years.
That was my photographer. I can't show you his face because he still works in the region. So after days of poring over maps and scouting out routes, we were finally on the move.
To get down to the Irrawaddy Delta, we have to leave under the cover of darkness. The last thing we need right now is to be stopped.
We hopped from different modes of transportation, all the while feeling like fugitives on the run.
It's really the only way to get down there and bypass the checkpoints. It's going to be a long ride.
And a rough one. We slept in stifling conditions and lived off of little more than bottled water and power bars. Once daylight broke through, it was clear this journey was far from over.
We're waiting right now for a second boat, a smaller one that we're told will be able to make it through the canals a lot easier.
After 21 hours, we finally made it, though it normally takes only 4 hours to get here. And judging from the devastation, it doesn't look like much has changed in the 2 months since the cyclone struck. Debris still littered villages. We had to work quickly, capturing what we could, never knowing when we'd get caught. Trekking through muddy fields, over makeshift bridges, and right into rice paddies, we came across an eerie discovery. Bodies still rotting in the delta. I knew we would find them. I just didn't know how haunting it would be. Yet just a few feet away, the living press on. It's a place where slivers of hope can be found in the eyes of the young, so happy and full of life. And for a brief moment, you almost forget they've seen more pain than most people can imagine.
That was CNN's Betty Nguyen on the difficulties of reporting from Myanmar. She's now in neighbouring Thailand and joins me from Bangkok to talk about her assignment. Quite an assignment and quite dangerous. Just how dangerous was it?
Well, it was really dangerous, especially for the locals who are helping us. First of all, foreign journalists are banned from Myanmar, which is one of the reasons why I pushed for this assignment, especially seeing the devastation, the pictures right after the cyclone hit, and all the stories about the government possibly hoarding aid and the aid not getting down. I wanted to go and see 2 months after if aid was really getting to the people who needed it the most. So we planned it out very carefully, got in the country and worked with locals to help us get down to the Irrawaddy Delta. But Vanilla, that's where it got really difficult, because once you're in country, that's half the battle. But getting down to the Irrawaddy Delta is almost impossible. The junta government has set up military checkpoints in just about every city leading down to the Delta. So we had to find a way to bypass that. And the problem was, if we got caught, one, there would be no story. Two, we could be deported, if not worse, and the locals helping us face prison time and who knows what else. So we had to be very careful.
Were you aware of any other journalists working undercover there?
Did not see any other journalists working undercover in country. We looked around. We were hoping maybe there might be someone, because perhaps they could provide us with some information, but we did not see a single one in country.
So it seems from your experiences that little or no aid is getting into that part of Myanmar at all, and the description of dead bodies floating in the delta is surely something that 2.5 months after Cyclone Nargis would gall even the most hardened reporter.
It was a really tough assignment on many levels. Mentally, it was exhausting trying to figure out, how do we tell this story? One, how do we get down there to find the story? And two, emotionally, once you get down there and you see these rotting bodies 2 months after the cyclone, I mean, these were people. They deserve better. and to see them just sitting there out in the hot sun. And the sad thing about it is when you talk to the villagers down there who are in great need themselves, they'll tell you there are just too many bodies to bury, and they're just trying to get on with their lives and trying to struggle to survive, because many of them, they need food, they need shelter, they need aid, they need help to harvest their crops, they need help to rebuild their schools and their monasteries, and a little bit of aid is trickling in, but of the villages that we were able to visit, we saw just a tiny bit, maybe some bags of rice, some roofing material, some tarp, but not much more than that.
And on a very practical, pragmatic note, Betty, you've obviously filed from Myanmar now 2.5 months after Cyclone Nargis. Say in another 2.5 months if you decide to try and go back. Do you think you'll be able to take the risk?
I don't know. I'm afraid after these reports, obviously the government will see them and they will know my face, and if I try to cross into the country, I'll be denied. I'm not sure I'll be able to get back in the country, but I would love to. I would love to continue reporting, because this is a story that needs to stay in the spotlight, because some 2.4 million people are affected, and I know aid groups are working their best to get much needed supplies to the people in the villages around the Irrawaddy Delta. We didn't see a lot of that aid, so it's proof that it's not being distributed evenly. Why is that? Well, we couldn't ask the government, obviously, because we would have been caught. We couldn't get to the sites where the aid groups had set up their camps, because the government has minders and officials that are always with them pretty much at all times. So those were the questions we weren't able to answer, and hopefully within time we will see more aid come into the villages and it be distributed evenly, because again, people are suffering and they are in great need.
Betty Nguyen, thanks very much indeed. Now, the baby buzz in the French Riviera. The world welcomes the arrival of Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt's twins. We look at the media frenzy and the phenomenon that is Brangelina when we come back.